Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Battleborn Digital Learning Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kyle Anderson, a special education teacher at Clark High School in Las Vegas. And with me, again, as always, is my good friend, Maggie Cox. Maggie, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Maggie Cox from Desert Pines High School in Clark County. I teach a medical CTE program, and I'm excited to kind of talk with you tonight. We're going to do an overview of some of the resources that we've found on NV Digital Learning.
Yeah, so every episode we close out by saying you could find all sorts of great resources on nvdigitallearning.org. And we decided to take a little bit of time, you and I, to do a deep dive on the website and find some of these resources and kind of pick out some of the ones that really stood out to us. And I think we found some pretty good ones, Maggie.
Yes, some of my favorites.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive in and just share a few of these things with you and talk to you a little bit about what these resources are and then where you're going to find these things and all the other resources that are out there available to you as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and just dive right in and talk a little bit about one that I found called After School Activities to Promote Social Emotional Development. And this is an infographic that was put together by one of the digital engineers that talks a little bit about coming up with ideas to engage students in after school clubs and activities during the pandemic. So here in Clark County, we're still 100% digital, but most others around the state are either in a hybrid or maybe even a full-time face-to-face. But even then, social distancing is something that is still a thing. And even though numbers are trending downward, we still need to be diligent about being safe with everybody. So this infographic provides a few ideas on how to do that, have after-school clubs that are still socially distanced and safe in virtual or even into a hybrid format. So, and some of the ideas that were provided on this infographic were something like a club anime. So using different tools for that club, something like Pixton Comics. Now, this is actually something that I never heard of before, this app here. Have you ever heard of this one?
Yes, it's a little comic maker. The way I've seen it used in medical is to make little scenarios. So there's ways to incorporate it into class.
Oh, so okay, making comic book like cells and whatnot. That actually sounds pretty cool. I have to check that out a little bit. And then of course Google Drawings, and then there's some other ideas on here. A Gamers League using programs like GimKit, Quizzes, and Kahoot in order to engage kids in different things. You've got coding and robotics clubs using things like code.org, a podcaster club using things like Flipgrid and Wakelet. That is something I would really like to do, is to start some sort of podcast club. I mean, after all, we're on a podcast right now. So I do this with two other podcasts I do. I would love to be able to share that with students as well. So you've also got Steam Team is another idea for a club using some tools with Discovery Education. There's tons of stuff available through Discovery Education. And then Graphic Novelists, again, using that Pixton to create graphic novels. And then also using Epic to explore graphic novels. My kids, my elementary age kids, they love Epic because of the availability of books that are out there. So again, this is a great little infographic on just a handful of ideas on how you can engage kids in a club format and still be safe at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's links. When you go to the website, there's links to all of the resources as they are explained. So very user-friendly for parents or teachers.
Yes, and we're going to link all of the things that we come up with here in the show notes as well. So on your podcasting app, you can click into the show notes and find the links for every one of these graphics that we find. So now you found one that is talking about a virtual chat. So tell us a little bit about that one that you found.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we highlighted the Nevada Digital Engineering virtual chat that's happening once a month. Jordana McCudden is compiling a a think tank to talk about different topics. And the one that I highlighted and I just recently watched was done in January on helping families understand SEL. I think as a parent at home watching my kids, as well as watching my students and what they're going through, we've been looking at social emotional learning and how we can provide those supports. So this was a great discussion. Some educators, some community leaders, some that are parents, and it was a good discussion, a lot of ideas, and much of the discussion was talking about how we're going through this shared experience, this shared trauma, and what are we doing right now to support, and what are we going to be doing as we head back. Different ideas for teachers to help model, that social emotional learning, as we also need to take care of ourselves. We talked about not only having separate SEL time, but weaving it into lessons. And I think that's something that all the educators I've talked to have been really working on, is like, how do we incorporate this now? Because we know it's so critical. And so it's not like a separate piece. It's something we want to have in all of our lessons. One thing I've found that is like a simple way to incorporate some SEL is sometimes I do a roll call, like a gratitude roll call. Just tell me one thing you're grateful for as I'm doing a roll. And it's helpful to keep everybody's mindset a little bit more happy and focused. And so sometimes I do that. And I think it helps me as the teacher to hear what they're excited about. And I think, if we're calling through 30 names, it really helps them too, to hear what's going on in their classmates' lives. So that's something I've tried to incorporate. But I thought this was a great discussion. She does these once a month to address different things that we're dealing with through the pandemic. So you can go back and go to the Nevada Ready YouTube channel, and you can find all of those there.
And is that where they are hosted when they are live, as well as on the State Department's YouTube channel?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. So as long as you're subscribed to that channel, you can get the notifications as to when they are going to go live with those virtual chats, and then you can participate in them yourself rather than just watching them down the road. That's great. So another great resource that I found, this one's actually a blog post titled "Creating a Learning Space from Home." And in this one, this was something that it was actually written several months ago towards the beginning of the school year, but it's something that is still relevant today. I mean, even those districts that are not in the distance learning model, that are either hybrid or full 100% back in school, this is something that is still applicable and important even after things, quote unquote, return to normal. Having a space at home in order to complete work, even when we're back face to face, is something that is a really good idea to have. I have a space in my home where I'm teaching from, that I have a desk. I have 2 additional monitors, including my computer. So I have 3 monitor system. I have shelving units for those monitors, so they're up more at eye level. I have a microphone set up. I have a green screen. So I have this set up for me. I don't intend to take it down when I return back into the regular environment. This is my office space now. So I intend to have that. And I think that all students and teachers should have something like that if possible. So in this blog post, it highlights into talking about creating an area for learning, much like I just described with my situation with the desk and the monitors and whatnot, and not just the kitchen table. So, and again, it may not be feasible for everybody. So even if you have to use the kitchen table to be the learning area, that's better than just having it being wherever on a daily basis. So making the area personal and comfortable. With my space, I bought a good chair instead of just having a folding chair or a kitchen chair that I'm sitting on for upwards of 7 hours a day. Establishing rules for class time. Now, this is more for your students instead of teachers. I mean, teachers, we already have, we know when we have to be on the computer and what we need to be doing. But a lot of times students don't have those rules. So with my children, they're up at least an hour before school starts. They have breakfast. I make them get dressed and put on actual clothes, not just pajamas. I make them brush their hair, brush their teeth and everything. We have a routine every morning. So having that set of routine, and then the rules during class time as well, where the TV remote is put away, the Nintendo Switch is put away, the iPads are put away, any other things that could be distracting are put away as well in my house. and it's something that works well for us. And having those rules for class time is something that is highlighted in this blog post as well. And then again, dressing for success, getting up and dressing for school instead of just wearing the pajamas is something that they highlight as well. So just something that, again, written months ago, but still relevant every day. And it was actually really nice when I found this to go back and read this again, just to kind of get a refresher of what those guidelines really should be.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, we would all have a desk set up. This did force me to splurge and buy the desk. I have not splurged on the chair yet, so I'm jealous. That's next on my list. I'll have to get myself a chair. With my own children who are in elementary, we did set up space. And I think it's important to go back through and like redo that space. My son who's in 5th grade has reset his. My daughter who's in 1st grade, the anchor chart type paperwork has changed over time. So we change those every now and again with her number charts and things. So I think, having that refresher, like you said, so everybody can kind of reset, get their space set. There's some great ideas out there too. If you don't have a separate desk just for that, a lot of kids use little cubbies at school, and you can do the same at home. Have their clipboard and all the pencils and everything they need in a little cubby or a bucket that they can move to the learning space when it's time. So all of those things, great review, and definitely we're looking at, we might be home for a while. Some schools are heading back hybrid. We're always going to need a space at home to do our education. So good review. I'm going to tell you about the next one that I went through. There was a presentation done for social emotional learning with the Calm app. And this is actually an app I've used before. A teacher made the slide presentation and did a presentation on how to use it. And the slides have some helpful tips for teachers. And it's a great app that has soothing sounds. It has some suggestions for some little exercises you could do. So I've used it before with students. They have a teacher discount, and I really liked that idea. That's one that I would definitely present to teachers or students as a way to bring in a little break. So sometimes I take a 10-minute break and do one of their little 10-minute like yoga sessions just to get away from my desk, because we are sitting a long time and I'm not used to that. When I teach in my classroom, I'm walking around all the time. And so this has been a little bit tricky. So whether you need the calming music or the activity, this app has something for you. And so I thought that was a really good one.
I've heard of that app from ads on various podcasts, but I've never actually taken a look at it. So this might be the day that I actually download it and check it out. So you did say a teacher discount. Is it a freemium type service? Is there a free version of it you can use, or is it just a paid?
There is a free version, and they do have, it used to be completely free for teachers. It's now they're offering a 40% for teachers. So I think it's a $60 a year subscription, 40% off for teachers. There is a school code. So when you go to their website, and it's included in her slide set, and there's a section to sign up if you're a school, and you can get 30 days free for the students. So that's what I've done in the past to have them try it out when we're doing wellness discussions. But I think this is applicable really in any class right now, but I've seen it used in PE or health, in my medical class, things like that.
Good to know. Like I said, I think I'll have to check that out then, because after that discount, it works out to $36 for the year. That's a pretty good price for something that could be very, very helpful. So great. So now another one that I found, I am a sucker for Chrome extensions. I have so many Chrome extensions. I'm always looking for new ones to try to make my workflow a little bit easier. So, and this one really came across my radar with the special ed frame of mind, Chrome extensions for diverse learners. This is one that, again, I'm always looking for those kinds of things, because anything to help my students, especially those with disabilities, to be able to do things easier, that's right up my alley. So, and there's some extensions on this infographic that was created, that many of which I hadn't heard of before. Now, some of them, like the Read Write extension was one that I've used in the past, where this one's offered by Text Help, where it can read text on a screen. It can you can do text to speech on it. So there's a lot of different things in that Read Write app that can help those that struggle with reading. I love the dictionary, especially the picture dictionary that's in it, because that can be very helpful for struggling readers as well. And then I don't know where I'd be without the Grammarly extension, the one that does my spell check and my grammar check for me as I go on websites, in Google Docs, everything. And it's not necessarily because I need it to check my spelling and grammar so much, but sometimes when I'm typing fast, I just mistype something because I'm typing too fast, and Grammarly picks all that stuff up. So it basically does the proofreading for me, which is really nice. And that is definitely something that students should use a little bit more often as well. But then there's some other ones on here that I never heard before. That's really great. Open Dyslexic is one of those. So what this does is that for somebody with dyslexia, certain fonts are much harder to read. So this extension will replace the font that's on the screen with a font that is a lot easier for those with dyslexia to read, which is a really great tool. Another one is the Color Enhancer extension. So those that are colorblind and can't see certain things on a web page, this one will allow things to be visible for those that are colorblind, which is a really nice one as well. The Stay Focused extension is another one that's featured here. Blocking sites to keep you focused. So if you know you're going to start browsing Facebook or Twitter or something like that, blocking it with that extension or limiting the time that you spend on it, that helps you to stay focused on what you're going to need to do. So very nice, cheeky name for that. So the Read Aloud extension, reading the content of a web page as you read along, which is really nice. Just Read. This is a really good one too, where it removes the distractions from a web page. So I haven't installed that one, but it sounds like what it'll do is like ads along the side and images that aren't necessarily relevant to the reading there. It'll just eliminate those things. So it's just the text, which is really nice as well. And then the last one is Dark Reader. And the description here states, protect your eyes as this extension inverts bright colors, making them high contrast and easy to read at night or in the daylight. So I find that whenever a website or an app on my phone has a dark mode, I find myself doing that now, not just to save on my eyes, but also save my battery on my device. So it sounds like Dark Reader is another one that can help do that as well. So a lot of great extensions on this resource here.
Very good. Yes, Grammarly was the one I told all my students you have to use. That was the only one I told them first week of school. Get that in there. Definitely helpful. The next one that I took a look at, I found on the NV Digital Learning website, was called Writing a Priority Task List. And it had a list. It had a Google document that you could download and make your own. And it had a little task, and it was A, B, or C. And not only did you have the download, but she created a 10-minute video to explain it and explain how you could prioritize things. And I think this would be good for anybody, like 5th grade to 12th grade. And you could adapt it. You could definitely adapt it to other age groups. But the way she explained it, I thought was perfect. She had a list of must do, should do, nice to do, and then talked about how once you get the whole list set up, you have to focus on that thing that you think is going to be hardest and tackle it first. So great descriptions on how to set up a priority list and then how to go ahead and implement it. That was really good.
I have been making task lists for myself for years, especially when I start getting really busy. I just, whether it's a digital task list or if I write it down on a sticky note or whatever, definitely helps me out. And I'm a relatively organized person. So if it's helping me out, somebody that maybe struggles with organization, putting together that task list is really important. It's something that you should really start to do on a more regular basis. So we highlighted these 6 resources, but that's 6 of literally hundreds of things that are on nvdigitallearning.org. So if these sounded good to you and you want to see what else is out there, definitely head over to that website and just start poking around, and you're going to find all sorts of great stuff. And you can search by when it was posted, by which month it was posted. You can search by topics, by subject areas, grade levels, all sorts of different ways. So it's very easy to really go down a rabbit hole and find all sorts of things. And I spent a lot of time on there. I can't speak for you, Maggie, but I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah. And, new things are being added all the time. And these are resources that might meet the need of a mom or a dad looking for resources, or a teacher. It's really built so that it can support everyone. And so you can go look for and search for exactly what you need. So that's been great. And speaking of resources for teachers, we have a couple things coming up that I wanted to make sure we highlighted, because the Nevada Digital Engineers have been offering professional development this year. And next week, this coming week, actually, we have a distance learning playbook book study starting. And so that's exciting. It's going to be every Tuesday, or actually, I think twice a month on Tuesdays, heading into the end of the school year, to go through this great book, giving us a chance to discuss it virtually. So I'm excited to see how that goes for our Nevada educators. We're also going to be having a digital learning summit on April 17th, and that's free for Nevada educators. You can go to the NV Digital Learning website and sign up for that. They're actually looking for presenters and for participants right now, so you can go to the website and sign up.
Yes, indeed. So again, all of these resources are available in our show notes in your podcasting app. Click on the episode and click into the notes, and you'll find links to the ones that we featured on today's show, plus the book study and the Digital Learning Summit that is coming up, and then also nvdigitallearning.org. So make sure that you're going in and checking that out. So, and with this podcast, follow the Nevada Department of Education on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And then if you want to interact with us, use hashtags NVDLC, NV Digital Learning, and NV Digital Engineers. We mentioned the Nevada Department of Education's YouTube channel. Make sure you're finding that and subscribing so you get notified of those virtual chats and some other great content that's there. And then the show you can find on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, and more. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're there. And episodes always post on the first and the third Mondays of the month.
Very good. And I'm pretty active on Twitter as well. I see you have your Twitter handle up there. So you can find me at Maggie J. Cox on Twitter and most social media. That's where you're going to find me. I'd love to hear more from other teachers that are tech savvy and exploring this world of digital learning.
And yes, you can find me on Twitter at Anderson EdTech. Same thing with Instagram. And then I have a blog, AndersonEdTech.net, and then I do have a book that I wrote called To the Edge: Successes and Failures Through Risk Taking. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and then my publisher, EduMatch Publishing. So we would love to connect with you further as individuals, and then also through the podcast. So Maggie, anything else for the good of the order?
I think that's it. We've got the website in there, nvdigitallearning.org. We hit that several times. That's where you're going to find all of the great resources that we talked about. Thank you so much.
And like Maggie said, those are being updated all the time with more stuff. And then again, you'll be hearing more episodes coming from us here in the coming weeks. So thank you, as always, for taking some time to listen. And until next time, have a good one.